Think on a bam bam. Look what's all Jamaican. With a different style, different fashion. You know? Tell me say one thing.
Yes, Miss Alison Duke, it's wonderful to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time. I watched the film and I am just so inspired and I learned so much. I learned so much and I would love to talk to you about the process. Like, how did you approach this film when you began production? Like, how long did it take you to really create like a outline? Like, what was the process like?
Wow, the process was one of, just trying to figure it out because we were trying to start before COVID,
Mm.
and she was going to, I think her management team was trying to get her to perform something around South by Southwest, and that was the first thing that shut down. So for a year or two, we had to think of ways of starting because we got the green light with Crave, which is our streaming services here. It's almost like a Netflix here in Canada, and I'm from Canada.
Mhm.
So, and she lives in Jersey. So it was like a lot of things, that we had to figure out. So we started with a remote shoot, just trying to get her story, and that was amazing. That was amazing. I got a cinematographer from New York, um, Henry Adenojo, to film for me in New Jersey during an event, and she was she was just amazing. She was just amazing. And then after that, I said, okay, good, because I wrote all the questions and all of that, did all the prep. I spoke to her maybe a couple times before the first shoot, and they shot that stuff, and it was just riveting. She was just such, like, whatever she did, it was just popping off the screen. But then I was thinking, like, what are we gonna do? Like, it's just, we have a sit down interview, some shots of an event that she was throwing in celebration of her mom's passing, and memorial. And I was just like, okay, what are we gonna do? So then I started figuring out I need to recreate her life because there's not a lot of archives. There's not a lot of, you know, even photos of her as a small kid. Um, there's not much to work with. Like, she's got a lot of photos of the house, but the rule was I couldn't take them off of her walls, and I couldn't take anything away to scan or whatever. Like, she was not having it. So I had to work around Sister Nancy, the great Sister Nancy, and her personality, and try to figure it out. So I figured, okay, let's do, you know, she's gonna tell her own story because nobody has really well, nobody can tell her story like her, right? She knows her story. She's got all the nuances there. She knows what's interesting. She knows what she wants to say to the world. And so, I took her story and then reimagined what her life was as a child. And then, when COVID was over, she says, okay, I'm back on tour. Because before COVID, she had like 40 dates, like, in booked for that year, like 2020. She had 40 dates. I think when South by Southwest shut down was like what, spring? So she
Yeah.
had 40 days left. And so she was just like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? So when it finished, and she was able to go back on the road, I thought we gotta follow her now. So it became that. So the film is sort of like an amalgamation of everything. And
Mhm.
what we're trying to do is we watched Sister Nancy on tour, which is her just being phenomenal on stage. I don't know if you thought so, but I thought, like, she's
Yeah.
just amazing. And then interweave her life story throughout. Did that work for you?
Yes, yes, totally. And it was so brilliantly like everything just flowed with each other because it also felt like I was also being educated on a lot of other things besides the great sister Nancy. You know, you did a wonderful job on the storytelling of it, the culture in Jamaica and how everything just intertwined with each other. Like, and you also have like a video producing background and a journalistic background. Was like, how did that influence certain decision making in this process as well?
Yeah, well, I started in this industry as a music and entertainment writer. And then I got into music videos, producing and then directing, then documentary filmmaking. So I kind of used all those skills, you know. I really like, creating interesting visuals. I I like and as a documentary storyteller, I like to hear about the history of things and working with archives and trying to um, you know, builds different narratives that people haven't seen. I'm not about storytelling that, oh, I heard that before. I'm trying to show things in a way that you haven't seen before, just to
Mm,
give you a different type of context to whatever it is. So dance hall culture, I did that with that. I showed you a little bit of, used footage that you probably wouldn't have seen before. And also, just trying to contextualize what happens to, Jamaican and also other Caribbean musicians in terms of music rights. I wanted to invite that conversation, make it be a larger conversation. And on top of that, I wanted to show her impact. So I had other voices from the hip hop community and from, radio and all of that in there. It's just so it's sort of like all throughout the film, you get these other voices chiming in.
right.
Uh, it's a very difficult style to do, but and it's very challenging. But I thought for this film, it worked.
Okay. And you also mentioned that some of the archives are difficult to obtain and use. Is that the reason why you kind of had like you created scenes within the documentary?
Yes, whatever, I was kind of, it was almost like making a nice stew, right? You
Mhm.
have what you have, and then you kind of create it. So we didn't have, plush, you know, I would say, you know, you know, television broadcast archives.
Mhm.
We were getting bits and pieces from people. A lot of people are no longer around,
Right.
or they don't have the original, right? So what we thought was, what we can do is, why don't we shoot some archives, some
Mm.
like footage that looks like archives, and mix it into, you know, the the original archives, the true archives, and make it come to life. So throughout all the archives, you'll see little bits and pieces of live action that we just added to make that scene pop.
And that was I love that because I also felt like I was there as well. It was very relatable. It felt, even though it felt current, you also still get like a background of what's happening. So that was a brilliant decision making, an
Oh,
idea for the documentary.
well,
Um,
thank you.
were you approached to do this, or is this like a project you had in mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was approached, Moss Rexlin. He doesn't really speak in the interview, but she's kind of following him around in the beginning. He's her Canadian DJ, and he came to us because we're from Toronto, Canada. He
Mhm.
came to, our, office, to my production company that I own with Gaddy Conte George, my creative partner and business partner. He came to us, and I remember it was late one night, and he said, I want to come by your office. Nobody was there, and he just pitched me the story about Sister Nancy. And I was like, what? Because like I was sort of like taken back, because I'm old enough to know and remember Sister Nancy's music dropping. Like, I was in the basement parties back in the day and listening to her, when, when I was having a good time. Anyways, so when he said that, I said, absolutely. He goes, well, first I have to find out if she, likes you, because, Sister Nancy is Sister Nancy, she's got to like you for you to do that. And then so he came back and he called us. No, he came back in the office and he dialed her. He goes, okay, I'm calling her now. In the middle of the office, and everybody's sitting around.
Mhm.
And she came on the phone and we talked. And then she goes, yeah, yeah, I want you to do it. And
Wow.
then, yeah, like, we just had a conversation.
Mhm.
And I just went around the office with my cell phone. I was like, oh my God, it's Sister Nancy. And I think we're doing her film, maybe, like, kind of thing. And, then we did the paperwork and all that stuff. but we hit it off right away. I think for her, maybe I don't know if she knew of my work or anything like that, but I think she saw that I was an older artist. I'm not to put anything against younger artists. I think younger artists can do it, but I think it made her feel at ease
Mm,
that maybe I was someone that she could relate to. Um, and yeah, and that was it. That was like, when does that happen as a filmmaker?
yeah.
Somebody walks in your office and say, "Hey, by the way, I want to give you your dream project."
Yeah, nice, amazing. And
Yeah,
how did you get Mr. Winston Riley's family involved? Was that like a hard task to do?
I can't even remember how that happened, but I do know that I was trying to get a hold of Kirk Riley for a while. I wanted his family to be represented
Mm,
because Sister Nancy adores Kirk Riley. I know they went through their thing, with the royalties and all that, but she adores him. He's the one who produced her album,
yeah.
produced all those songs. He's amazing. He's actually a genius. If you listen to his body of work, and his catalog, he's a genius producer. You
Mhm.
know, Ring the Alarm, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there is some respect there. And I always think that there's two sides of the story, and I didn't want it to leave it one-sided because I feel like it would have been less interesting, like, oh yeah, this person didn't pay that person. Okay. Well, let's hear about the other side. And I just thought it was great when I got Kirk, and then I got his daughter Jasama Riley
Mhm.
on, and they told their side of the story, and it really humanized him, I think, in the film.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to I didn't want to just, leave bad blood for that. They're coming to the screening, by the way. So yeah, it's gonna be
Nice.
it's gonna be interesting to see what they say. But I wanted to show that, here's a person that was an amazing producer, and he was just doing what everybody else was doing at the time.
Mhm.
Like, this was common practice. And, the family, did right by, Sister Nancy as far as she's concerned. I know, a lot of people would argue that, oh, she didn't get her full royalties, but she's satisfied with what she got. And
Mhm.
now the song has even blown up since then more than ever. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot, you know, to say that her song was in Maids, Ozark, 007, like Jay-Z, sampled it,
Commercial.
commercial, like, I
Yeah.
think she's still touring.
Mm.
She's still touring.
Which is amazing because, I'm 33 and I don't think I can do half of what she's doing right now. Hopefully I can.
She does a lot. She does a lot. And and she does it with love and with grace, and she does it in her own way. You hear her in the film say, I'm not changing. If
Mm,
anybody wants me, you got to take me as I am. And that's refreshing because we live in this world of celebrity, culture where nobody can see, your warts and all. Everything has to be polished and, you know, constructed even in most things. And she's just, I don't care. And that was one of the things early in the shooting. I think it was the first day I asked her to do something again. And she turned to me, she goes, "Look, Allison, if you're gonna make this documentary, don't ask me to say anything twice. Don't
mm,
ask me to do anything twice. You just get it how you get it. If it's rough and raw, that I don't care. That's just me."
mhm,
And I was like, "But we're making a film. You get it." And she was, "Nope, you get it as you catch it as you catch it." And
mhm.
then I realized that's the flyest thing. That's
Right.
what's going to be really fly about this documentary is that it's not constructed.
Mhm.
Like, it's not like
Just raw.
you never see her trying to like fix her hair before a shot or something, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, she's in her comfort zone. You see her in her home, watching TV, just doing regular things that we all have comfort in. And I have 2 more minutes, so I
Okay.
just wanna ask a really, question that I think would be you would have such a profound answer to. Um, with all the projects you've been part of, documentaries, music videos, commercial, the Black community
Thanks.
mixtapes. What is
Yeah,
something that you've learned about yourself making this Bam Bam Sister Nancy story?
I've learned making this Bam Bam Sister Nancy story that I'm resilient too,
Mm,
that I shouldn't change who I am, and I
mm.
should just keep on doing what I'm doing and don't stop until I want to.
Amen to that. That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. And it speaks to your projects because you make projects that are resilient, that is that you know push change and uplift the Black community, especially and now to see a woman on a platform that many people don't know her story. So thank you so much for your time. I enjoyed the film and I'm so excited for the world to see it.
Oh, thank you so much for your review and this
Yes.
conversation. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful day.
You do the same as Alison Duke. Have a wonderful day.
Bam bam, hey yo, what a